Hello, my fellow adventurer, and welcome to the Travel Inspired Podcast, powered by Creating Magic Vacations. Rob and Kerri Stewart here, coming to you from the beautiful studio here in Windermere, Florida. This is show number 144.
And thank you so much for all of you who have tuned in, subscribed to our podcast, and left a positive review. We really appreciate you, especially since we've been a little inconsistent.
We have, and that's going to change really for a couple reasons. Number one, in addition to audio, we're now adding video to the show. You can follow us on Creating Magic Vacations over on YouTube. And we also now have a full-time video editor. We added him to the Creating Magic Vacations team, and he's already doing a great job with the Disney Travel Secrets podcast. I know probably a lot of you listen to that. Make sure you're subscribed to that channel as well.
Yeah, so I think we should give a round of applause to Rads.
Thank you, Rad. You work hard, Rads. And I know we've been keeping you busy.
Yeah. So you can watch this show if you are listening, and you can head on over to our Creating Magic Vacations YouTube channel. That is where Travel Inspired lives.
So as we were preparing, as we're recording the show, we're actually traveling to Paris today for a cruise with Alma Waterways, and we were reminded about how bad international airfare is. It is horrible. We had a client that was supposed to be flying out today. Delta canceled their flight. Something similar happened to us, but we were already in Europe getting ready to come back to the States. And Delta canceled our flight, and they don't even give us an explanation. Sorry, and we can't rebook you.
Yeah,
so
usually when that happens, though, and this is something that is common in Europe, is they do have airstrikes, meaning not like airstrikes as in a war. Well,
airline.
They do have those.
Airline.
So the air traffic controllers from time to time, especially over in Paris and Germany, will threaten to strike and not show up for work, which means that a lot of the flights can't go in. One of the things when it comes to Paris is usually it's not Charles de Gaulle that's affected, but just to be certain, some airlines will start canceling flights. And if they don't give you a reason, you can bet that it's probably associated with that. We'll see if ours actually goes out later today.
We're hoping. We're leaving for the airport in a couple hours. Yeah. But we want to make sure we got this out
and
to you
it'll
guys
be interesting to see how that affects the Olympics
I'm
later.
curious. It's going to be, I will say, a train crash.
No, let's not say that.
We're not saying that. Strike that.
Okay, but one of the things, though, is you always want to have a backup plan. And I was working with a client earlier this week, and they were a little concerned that the connecting flight was going to be a little too soon. And I said, well, best case scenario, you make the flight. And as your backup, we don't like to say worst case, but as a backup, know what other flights will be going out after yours. So in the event you miss it, you can immediately talk to the airline and say, hey, I know I was on this flight. I've missed my connection. Can you put me on this airline that's leaving in an hour? And this is also another reason to do carry-on only, because it definitely makes it a lot easier for you.
Which we're attempting to do that today. We have a few more things to pack. We will keep you posted on the next show.
Yeah, so let's get into today's main topic, and that is 7 reasons why all-inclusive resorts are the ultimate vacation.
We've done several of them in different parts of mostly the Caribbean and Mexico.
And I think that they work for a certain type of a person. Some people love to get on a cruise ship, visit multiple destinations, unpack once. All-inclusives, you're just going to one location, but there's a lot of reasons that you may want to try this if you've never done it.
Yeah, so we're going to start with number 1 of our top 7, and that is the convenience and ease. So at an all-inclusive resort, pretty much everything is taken care of with one upfront price, meaning your rooms, food, drinks, activities, entertainment, everything is included. So you can just really enjoy the vacation without worrying about, okay, what else am I going to shell out some money for?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love is when I go on an all-inclusive vacation, I just show up. And you check in at the resort, and then they usually have a lot of different activities. And if you don't want to do any activities, that's great too. You can just hang out at the beach, read a book. But if you want to do, maybe there's a tequila tasting, or maybe there's some sort of an entertainment show later. I love the things that are included. When it comes to families, the kids clubs are also included. And so if you want to drop the kids off, and mom and dad can go and enjoy the adults only area of the resort if they have one, the kids can go and do kids clubs activities. Lots of places will also have water parks.
Yes.
Like we visited one of the Nickelodeon resorts
that was a fun place.
Riviera Maya, and that one has a lot of fun. So when it comes to wondering, if I go to an all-inclusive, am I still going to be nickel and dimed? The good news is no. Everything is convenient and easy.
At number 2, we have value for your money. While all-inclusive resorts will sometimes seem pricey if you're looking at the upfront cost, when you factor in everything that they do, it's a good bang for your buck. if you're going to compare it to going to a hotel and paying for everything a la carte, and it's really a lot of people look at the upfront cost and go, oh my gosh, I could do this just staying at a hotel and do it on my own. They don't factor in all the meals, drinks, and everything that's included. So it's all-inclusive resorts are a great value for your money.
Yeah. And in fact, we were touring a very high-end resort here yesterday, here in Orlando. And I was looking at some of the menus and I thought, I love the resort. It was absolutely beautiful. And it just reminded me, though, that when you go to an all-inclusive, those are also, like, a lot of the people on the tour with us were saying, this reminds me of an all-inclusive resort. And I'm like, yeah, but without
the all-inclusive
the all-inclusive pricing, because the value for the money at an all-inclusive, like you were saying, you factor in all the meals and your beverages and the entertainment, it's a really good value.
Absolutely. Next up at number 3 is the variety of options. The best all-inclusive resorts are going to give you a big range and a big choice of the different types of restaurants and foods. Every one of them is going to have some sort of like a casual buffet, but they'll also have like gourmet a la carte restaurants. Again, everything's included, so you'll never get bored.
And that's one of the things to look for when you are trying to choose an all-inclusive resort are how many options do they have? Because what you're going to find are the ones that are on the less expensive end are going to have fewer options. So they may have just like a breakfast option, a lunch, and a dinner at maybe one of 2 or 3 restaurants, whereas the higher end are going to have maybe up to 12 to 17 different restaurants to choose from. So you have a lot more variety. And the same thing goes for like your beverages. The lower end, you'll have choices for drinks, but they're going to be more like mid-tier or bottom shelf liquor. Whereas
we don't say bottom shelf, we say not top shelf.
Not top shelf. But then some of the other places are going to have top shelf and they're going to have way more bars and different options. So that's something when you're trying to compare and you're like, well, aren't all-inclusives the same? The answer is they're not.
Not even close.
It does come down to the variety of options, including the room types.
Exactly. It also comes down to if you want to do a lot of activities or if you want to be just, pampered and go to the spa. Those usually will have a slightly additional cost depending on what you're doing. But there are all types. If you want to just go on the lower price tier because you want to go and just do everything and you're like, I drink beer and wine, I don't care if they have, Tito's and Grey Goose. Again, there's really a great option for everybody.
Yeah. So the next reason that all-inclusives are great is because it does help with stress-free budgeting. And I know right now budgeting is so important for a lot of us. And it's nice to know that when you come for vacation, it's paid for, but you've budgeted for it and you have already paid for it in advance in most cases. And so it's kind of nice to come home and not have that giant credit card bill to go, what did we do on vacation? We went crazy.
But it's also not nice to come home and have to cook for yourself again.
Yeah, that is a hard entry, right?
That's the hard part, whether you're doing all-inclusive or a cruise or anything else. It's like you come home like, okay, somebody's got to cook.
Yeah. Okay. The next reason that all-inclusives are a great vacation is because they are ideal for families. And I'm going to throw in also multi-gen vacations.
Multi-gen for sure. And we'll give you one example in one of the clients we work closely with, and that is both Sandals and Beaches. Same company. Sandals is adults only, very luxurious. It's great for couples. And Beaches is their family-friendly multi-gen brand.
Yeah. And what's so great about this is when you are traveling as a family, sometimes it's like, some of the teens maybe want to go do something active. Maybe the adults just want to relax and then the little kids just want to run around. You have something for everybody at these all-inclusive resorts. And so it really does make it ideal for families. And then what's nice is if you do have a big group, a lot of times they'll accommodate seating you together at dinner or maybe even carving out a special place where you can all hang out together. I love some of the all-inclusives have like even exclusive areas where you can have the entire little zone just for your family.
I know which one you're talking about. There's one down in Mexico where there's like 6 or 7 villas in a row. And they all have a little, what they call a swim up area in front of it, but it connects all of you. So you can have that whole area just to yourself.
Yep. And so that makes, for families, definitely keep this as an option when you're thinking of planning your family vacation.
The next one in our top 7 is the relaxing atmosphere. So we're going to kind of qualify that. If you think you're going to go to Nickelodeon and sit in their large water park with all the slides and fountains and all those things to do, and it's going to be relaxing, probably not going to happen. You go to, Sandals, Montego Bay or Sandals Antigua. Again, it's going to be couples, and you can have a very relaxing time. You can sit, maybe you have a swim up swim up room, and you can just sit there and totally peaceful. The higher end the resort, the more relaxing it will be.
Yeah. And also, one of the things about the relaxing environment is there's no pressure. There's no pressure at these resorts to always be super dressed up for dinner, to put on a suit and tie and to show up that way. Now,
I never see a suit and tie.
I don't either.
I'll maybe occasionally see a jacket.
Yeah, maybe a jacket. But you can really just be as comfortable as you want on these vacations. And so it is relaxing in general. And if your kids want to run all over and enjoy the water park and just have a blast, there's a lot of other families doing the same. So you're not going to constantly be like, hey, quit yelling, quit screaming. That's what I think you were alluding doesn't add to the relaxing environment of the water park.
Yes.
But all-inclusives in general are very relaxing. They also, as part of that, a little bit, sometimes the service can be a little relaxed. So it's not always going to be like Johnny on the spot. Sometimes they're just, they know you're on vacation, you're in Jamaica, man. And so they may be a little slower in the service department because it's just more relaxed in general.
I will say sometimes it might be a little slower in the Caribbean versus Mexico. We'll talk about in a couple seconds. So let's go ahead and wrap up our top 7 with romance made easy. So for couples, all-inclusive resorts provide the perfect setting. They have adults-only pools, candlelit dinners, couples massages, all built into the package. And again, I'll talk specifically about sandals. They do it really well. Another one is Unico 2087. We were there, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and we had an amazing time because we were right on the water.
Yeah, we had a nice ocean view, which is
an
awesome.
Ocean view, and our balcony had a hot tub and also a table and a couch. And I think we had breakfast there every morning.
Yeah, it was like a giant soaking hot tub.
Yes. Now, one word of advice, and we learned this the hard way. iPads are not waterproof. And they had like this little shelf going across the tub itself. And it was like, hey, let's watch a movie. And we'd set the iPad up on a little stand, and it fell in the water and never worked again.
But one of the things about that makes, I think, a lot of these all-inclusives so romantic is there are a lot of other couples there, and the staff really wants you to feel romance. And so we know a lot of people will get engaged at an all-inclusive resort.
Yes.
A lot of honeymoons happen at all-inclusive resorts,
Exactly.
which means that the resorts themselves will have special honeymoon suites. I know Sandals does a fantastic job with some of their really exclusive ones. And so if you're looking for a little more romantic environment, there definitely is an all-inclusive for you. And I do like how they will do things like we had a private tequila tasting in our room.
Which was,
yeah,
and it was included.
And a lot of them will come and they'll do like a couples massage on your balcony, in your room. There are some beautiful over-the-water bungalows that are in Mexico and the Caribbean. I know a lot of people are like, I don't have the budget to go to Fiji or the Maldives. So this is, I wouldn't say it's an equivalent, but if you want that experience, it's close enough.
And also, if you do want an over-water bungalow or something that maybe you think is just a little bit out of your price range, here at Creating Magic Vacations, we have a partner and we can finance your vacation for you. So that's something to think about.
Yep.
But what are the most popular destinations for all-inclusive resorts?
Yeah. So this all comes down to what I call the big 3. So here's what you have. You have Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. Those are the big 3. And so that's where you're going to find probably your best airfare and the most variety. But there are some other places, though, in general.
Exactly. Let's break down those locations like you just said. So in Mexico specifically, you've got Riviera Maya and Cancun. A lot of people think it's the same place. You fly into Cancun, there are some all-inclusive resorts like Club Med that are right by the airport. Most of them, and I'm going to say probably 40 or 50 of them, are farther south, and that would be called Riviera Maya. On the other side, on the Pacific coast of Mexico, you've got Cabo San Lucas,
which is beautiful.
It is. However, you don't want to go to Cabo if you're there for the beaches. You want to do, Cancun, Riviera Maya.
Yeah, and the big reason there is because the beaches in Cabo are not swimmable. There's like one, but the majority of them, it's not about swimming in the water. You can go to the beach, but you are not going to get in the water. It's a little too rough.
The other popular place in Mexico, and we have not been to this one, and that is Puerto Vallarta. Again, very beautiful. But if you're looking for the beach experience, you definitely want to do, from Mexico, you want to do Riviera Maya.
Yeah, I would start with Riviera Maya. And
that's where we started.
Yeah, and if you're doing like a really quick one, though, you may want to stay in just Cancun proper, like on Hotel Road, just because getting to and from the airport to your resort is really, really quick.
And they do have a Hard Rock right by the airport.
Yeah. So in the Caribbean, though, because that's where, that's like, ooh, I went to the Caribbean for my vacation or for my honeymoon or for my anniversary. We talked about Punta Cana and Jamaica. Those are like super, super popular. Over in Jamaica, you have two different sides, though. You have like the Ochi side and Montego Bay. And they are building a new airport that's going to be on the other side. Right now, most people fly into Montego Bay, but that's one I would definitely look at if you want variety. But sometimes the airline prices are just too good to get there.
Sometimes that's how you pick the place you want to go. If they're similar in price, it's like which one has the best airfare. So again, for the Caribbean, we have Punta Cana in the DR, Montego Bay in Jamaica, Nassau in the Bahamas.
Well, let's talk about Nassau.
And there's a Sandals.
Yes. Well, there's a couple of different places in the Bahamas, and most everybody knows about Nassau because of the cruise ports.
Yes.
Some of the better
And
islands,
Atlantis.
though, are going to be outside of that particular island. And so I would just be a little cautious if you are going to stay in Nassau. There's usually Atlantis is super popular, like you said, and then Baha Mar has become ever more popular.
Also, to be very clear, I didn't mean that Sandals is in Nassau. Sandals has
There
a
is
resort in the Bahamas.
Well, they have one in Nassau.
They do.
They do.
See,
Yeah.
that's news to me. See, you
Do
learn
you know
everything on this show.
that? But the better one, which is Sandals Emerald, that one is not. And so you'd have to take a puddle jumper to get over to that one or just
That's a
fly in
plane.
direct.
Puddle jumper is a
yeah.
plane, not a boat.
And so one of the things, though, is a lot of people will go into Nassau and they'll say, I want an all-inclusive resort. And there's one there, but it's kind of subpar other than the Sandals. But that's not for families. And I think that one would be great. If I were going to invest my money, though, I would go to Emerald Bay.
I would too.
Over that one.
Matter of fact, I think we are.
And if you do want to go to the Caribbean, pull up the map and you're going to see there's a whole chain of islands that just kind of arc all the way down to Aruba. And there is an all-inclusive on just about every single one of those islands, which makes it kind of fun if you've already done the big three and you want to venture out. I know that when you get to like St. Lucia, there's some beautiful properties there. Curacao has a brand new Sandals down there. And then Sandals just opened one in St. Vincent. And I feel like I'm doing a Sandals commercial here.
I know
I'm not.
you are.
They're just one of the leaders and they've opened up so many, but there definitely is an all-inclusive for everybody.
If you're having trouble deciding, I suggest listening to the song by the Beach Boys called Kokomo. They name a lot of places down there.
So what all-inclusive destination, let's start there, is on your list? Definitely hop on over to our social media and let us know.
Thank you so much, especially to you that are watching us. This is our first episode that we're doing on YouTube, so we appreciate that. That's all for this show.
So join us next time on episode number 145 because we're going to talk about river cruising from Amsterdam and from Belgium on the Upper Rhine River.
We had a blast. It was our first time sailing from there. It was on AMA Waterways, one of our partners. And what made it extra special for us is that we had 7 of our Creating Magic Vacations travel advisors that cruised with us.
Yeah, so if you would like some help planning your all-inclusive vacation or would just like to talk about maybe a destination you're interested in and getting something on the books, please reach out to us. Just hop on over to creatingmagicvacations.com and click on Plan a Vacation.
Until next time, never stop exploring.